Welcome back to the Legends of the Crescents with a brand new episode. Imagine a quiet winter morning in Boston. Children are playing in the streets, workers are heading to factories, and the city is bustling with life. Suddenly, a loud roar breaks the calm, followed by a tidal wave, not of water, but of thick, sticky molasses. This bizarre disaster would claim lives, destroy buildings, and leave a lasting stain, both literal and metaphorical, on Boston's history. To understand the Great Molasses Flood, we need to step back into Boston's North End in 1919. It was a bustling neighborhood, home to Italian immigrants, dock workers, and factories. Rising above the crowded streets stood a massive steel tank filled with 2.3 million gallons of molasses, an essential ingredient in making industrial alcohol, which was in high demand due to World War I and Prohibition. The tank was built in 1915 by the Purity Distilling Company. At 50 feet tall and 90 feet wide, it was an engineering marvel, or so it seemed. But here's the catch. The tank was rushed into service without proper safety testing. Workers reported leaks and ominous groaning sounds coming from the tank, but their complaints were dismissed. To mask the leaks, Purity Distilling painted the tank brown, hoping no one would notice the sticky evidence of trouble. People joked about the leaking tank, but no one realized they were living beside a ticking time bomb. On January 15, 1919, Boston's temperature rose suddenly from freezing to a balmy 40 degrees Fahrenheit, a rare winter thaw. Around 12:30 p.m., workers near the tank heard a thunderous roar. The steel walls gave way, unleashing a 25-foot wave of molasses traveling at 35 miles per hour. Buildings were flattened, horses were trapped, and people were swept off their feet by the sticky torrent. Imagine the terror of seeing a wave of molasses barreling toward you, knowing you can't outrun it. For some, it was a fight for survival. For others, there was no escape. The disaster claimed 21 lives and injured over 150 people. Most of the victims drowned or were crushed by debris. Rescue efforts were hampered by the molasses itself, which made every step a struggle. Firefighters, police, and even Navy sailors worked tirelessly to free those trapped under the sticky wreckage. One haunting story is that of Maria D'Angelo, a young girl who was playing outside with her friends. When the wave hit, she was swept away, and her family found her lifeless body hours later, covered in molasses. The cleanup was as nightmarish as the flood itself. Crews spent weeks scrubbing streets, and the harbor remained brown for months. Residents claimed they could smell molasses for years afterward. But the real storm came in the courtroom. Over 100 lawsuits were filed against the company, leading to one of the first class-action lawsuits in U.S. history. In court, Purity Distilling blamed anarchists, claiming they had sabotaged the tank. But engineers and investigators proved otherwise. The tank was poorly designed and never tested for safety. The company was found negligent and ordered to pay $628,000 in damages, equivalent to millions today. The Great Molasses Flood wasn't just a bizarre accident, it was a wake-up call. The disaster led to stricter building codes and corporate accountability, ensuring tragedies like this would be less likely in the future. While the flood itself has faded into history, its lessons remain. It's a reminder of what happens when profit is placed above safety and how communities can rebuild after unimaginable tragedy. The Great Molasses Flood may seem like a strange, almost comical event at first glance. But for those who lived through it, it was a harrowing chapter of loss, resilience, and eventual justice. So, the next time you pour molasses onto your pancakes, take a moment to remember the sticky disaster that forever changed Boston.